We'll go live here. We'll start doing that. And all right, everybody. When you hear that music, which is actually called Funshine, that is the theme music to My Loso Lifestyle with Mary Schepp. Funshine, because she is full of funshine herself.
I was going to say, am I fun and shiny?
Yeah, absolutely.
And depending on the camera angle, it might be shiny at any given day.
You're doing fine and dandy right now. So you can go ahead and start refreshing everybody about what we talked about last week, and then we can get rolling. Your show is live and on the air. You're ready to go.
So, yes, last week we talked about desserts and hidden salts in desserts because a lot of people don't think desserts have saltiness. And they do. Baking soda is sodium bicarbonate, and by nature is sodium. And then, of course, everything asks for salt. But the biggest takeaway I think that I learned, a lot of people that had messaged me said that they were shocked about the amount of baking soda because you don't think about it. You think, oh, my recipe calls for a teaspoon of baking soda, so you put a teaspoon of baking soda. But a serving size for baking soda or baking powder is like an eighth. So if it says that it's 35 or 55 or 135 or however many milligrams of sodium, you got to times that by 8 because you put a teaspoon in. So if you need 2 or 3 or 4 teaspoons for a recipe, you got to take that 8 and multiply it out and do some math because now suddenly you thought like, oh, okay, I looked at it and it says 35 milligrams. And I put what I in my brain calculate as a serving because I think, a teaspoon is not, that's got to be a serving, right? And you throw it in there and then you realize you got to take that. And 35 milligrams is the average for reduced sodium baking powder. Mm-hmm. But you can get a no sodium version and so on and so forth. But you still got to take that and times it by 8 or 16 or 24 or so on and so on and so on and so on.
Yeah. Kent was making fun of me yesterday because I was eating something that was 2,500 milligrams and there were 3 servings in the container.
Yes.
But it was a single serve container.
Well, that's like potato chips. You look at a bag of potato chips in a checkout line. You're like, oh, I'll grab a bag of potato chips. And it doesn't seem like that big of a deal until you look at the back of the bag. And some of them are 1, but some of them are like 2, 3, 4, 6 servings. And you're like, combos? No, that is not a bag of 6 servings.
Yeah,
it's going to sit in my lap and I'm going to eat it on the freeway while I drive down to Chicago.
Yeah, like the combos with just the regular flour, like the cracker shell, because my wife actually loves the combos with the pretzel shell thing. She loves those, but I'm not so big on pretzels myself.
I do like them, and I do miss the combo stuff, but it's one of those things that I've talked about this before where you pick your battles.
Yeah,
and you if I'm going to waste my sodium, it's going to be on a nice steak dinner. It's not going to be on a bag of combos.
Well, I ate your sodium for an entire month yesterday at lunch. Alex said, dude, you ate a mountain of soup yesterday.
Yeah. And that's the worst thing.
I ate that whole thing. I did.
So. It's funny you bring up soup because when I first got diagnosed and I came home one day from the grocery store and I was so upset. I'm talking to my husband and he's, what's the problem? I said, I see this lady in front of me in the produce section. And I happened to look at her cart and I'm like, she genuinely thinks that she's doing right. She was heavy set. She's obviously making an effort because the things in her cart, she's buying produce and salads and tomatoes. And you can see the fat-free salad dressing and the heart-healthy soups. And I go, I know she's going to go home and eat an entire can of soup, which is 2 servings. And the salad dressing where you don't look at the serving size. So you don't realize that a tablespoon or 2 is a serving. And when you look at a salad serving, so if you ever look at a jug, like the big plastic tubs of salad.
Yeah.
And it's only like 3 servings. Because when you squish lettuce down or spinach down or cook it down, ounce for ounce, it just, a leafy green takes up a lot of physical space, so it looks like more. But if you've ever seen spinach wilted down and cooked into a dish, I'll buy a huge bag. And my husband's like, that's not going to, oh yeah, you watch. And then 2 minutes later, it's down.
Like a
it's
tiny
just
little
a little
ball.
tiny cup of spinach.
Yeah.
And that's a serving. So as a salad, one of those big, huge tubs is only 2 or 3 servings. And you're like, holy crap, I need a bowl this big. So if you have a bowl this big of salad with, half a tomato and carrots and whatever, and you get 2 little tablespoons of dressing.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it for me.
Right. You get half a bottle.
Yeah.
And then so it's like when
salad is, if I'm going to put rabbit food in my mouth, it's going to be covered in cheese. It's probably going to have some egg in it, a little bit of bacon, and probably about, a full cup's worth of dressing on there. It's just, that's kind of how I can tolerate it, really. I mean, it's just.
And next week, actually, I haven't posted it yet, but next week's episode will be about salads, salad dressings, salad fixing, salad and salads, because it's fun for me. Like today I brought, and I'll be interested. I should come back and live videotape it or something. Because I brought you a smoothie today, which, if you've been watching this show, you understand that Pete does not do vegetables and he doesn't do bananas. And what do? I bring in a smoothie that is green, is loaded with spinach, and has a hint of banana in it. But it doesn't taste like it. It does not at all. So I'm not asking him to drink the entire thing.
You want me
I want him to
take
like
a tablespoon,
the back of a spoon and just be like, hey.
You want me to take a spoonful now?
Right. Oh, sure, if you want to.
I'll do it.
Oh.
But
let's wait till the end of the show. Let's wait till the end of the show.
We might need a garbage can.
Yeah, right. If you're gonna puke and blow green smoothie chunks all over the place, I'm gonna have you do it at the end of the show.
I'll do it.
Right.
I'll try it since you
see. Now everybody's gonna stay, or at least tune back into the last 5 minutes just to see you lick a spoon of smoothie. But I was really shocked that
I'm not looking forward to this now.
No, yeah.
I don't know why I just said I'd do that.
But to be honest with you,
it's already making me kind of queasy.
So if you like strawberries.
Yeah, I mean, I can eat a strawberry. Yeah, they're all right.
It tastes like a liquefied strawberry. It's surprising to me because there's no sugar in it. It's just purely real food, but it has that. It literally just tastes like a strawberry smoothie to me. It doesn't look like it. And that's where people get freaked out by so many things, because you look like this. It's great. You saw it. It's green.
It does not look in any way, shape, or form appetizing, folks.
Right. And even one of my followers posted on my Facebook page, it looks disgusting. And I responded and said, it does, but it doesn't. And even my husband had it. So we split it yesterday, and he's like, I could actually drink this.
Really?
Yeah. It honest to God, it tastes like strawberries.
Yeah, the more I learn about your husband, the more I generally think I can trust his judgment.
Well, he does like hot
even though I've never met him.
I bought him just because it looked good. It looked fresh. I'm not an olive or hot pepper person, like to eat them.
Mm-hmm.
He is. And when I was at the store the other day getting I bought a new book. It's posted all over my page. And so far, and the smoothie comes from that book, is Michael Simon's Fix It With Food. Any celebrity chef who gets behind the whole, you can fix your body and get healthier purely with real food, I'll buy your book and read it. And so far, I've been extremely happy with every recipe, but that's where it comes from. And I happened to see they had like this olive bar with jardinere and whatever. Yeah. And it looked good. So I get it. And my husband's literally, I'm not even done unloading the groceries, and he's already tapped into the tub, eating what's supposed to be a condiment for like hot dogs as a salad.
Well, yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Because it's probably pretty good.
Right.
So Alex
he loves
out there says that, as long as blue cheese and ranch is on there, he's good to go. But then he's
blue cheese is an acquired taste, man. That's a stinky cheese.
He's blue cheese is all right, and I don't
love
mind
how you're about to puke
dressing
over a banana, but you're like, blue cheese, it's moldy cheese. I'm good with it.
It's all right.
Stinky foot cheese. But kind of soft.
It's not. I mean, I don't sit there and eat that on purpose.
Right.
If we happen to have blue cheese dressing, I'll be okay with it, but it's not my go-to. But Alex he's yelling out there, do it now. Do it now.
No, you can wait.
You're gonna have to wait. I got to make it through the show. I can't I can't put
I'm
that
not going to
in
make
my
them
mouth
sick in the beginning and then
spew over the board.
And that's too funny. But so today's show is, well, first off, let's talk about our pantry items. One of them's on the table, and it's nutritional yeast. And people don't, it's not yeast. It's not yeast to use for baking bread. It's dead. It's not going to rise. It's not a living organism. But for people like me who can't have salt, one of the things we're always looking for is cheese, because cheese is higher in sodium by and large. So most of us are stuck with Swiss cheese, and Swiss cheese is good. It's not bad, but when all you've eaten is Swiss cheese on your sandwiches, on everything else, you want a good cheddar cheese. Or if you are a stinky cheese person, if you like me, if you like Parmesans and Asiagos and blue cheeses and feta cheeses and Greek cheeses, goat cheese tends to be a little bit low, but if you're not a stinky cheese person, you're not going to eat that.
And I'm not really, don't get me wrong, I'm not a stinky cheese person. My cheese go-to is American, Colby,
which is super high.
Colby cheddar,
which is good.
And then just regular cheddar, whether it's mild or sharp. And then provolone on the occasional sandwich, I don't mind. And then of course the mozzarella on pasta or pizza, what have you. So that's about it. I'm kind of out on the cheese after that.
Nutritional yeast, because of the nature of it, it tastes, so you can put it on popcorn and it gives it a cheese type taste. So it's not, and again, I never ever say that any of my recipes are going to taste like they're salted. Some do, but you're looking for flavor. I'm not looking to substitute salt, because salt is salt. You're not going to substitute it. It is what it is. Same with cheese. You're not going to substitute cheese, but you can get pretty darn close. And if you haven't had cheese in a year or 6 months or weeks because you've had to have a diet change, and now suddenly you get popcorn that tastes kind of cheese-like, you're going, holy shit, this is the best thing since ever. And you're going to eat popcorn for a week straight because you're so excited that you've been living on bland food and now you found something. And that's the nature of what we do is you find these things to make up for what you're missing.
Yeah. And I totally get that. I can understand that. I really can.
The dips that I made for you guys back on the dip episode.
Oh, that was good.
The only salt that came from that, and it's not even salt.
Especially the one that was kind of like spicy sweet.
Right.
That was so good. That was really good.
That was like a mock Jezebel dip. That was really good. But they had nutritional yeast in them to bring in that salted flavor that you don't get. So it's not necessarily always a cheese component, but it does help, especially with dips. Another side note on cheese, since we're talking about cheese real quick, a lot of people don't realize they eliminate cheese because of the lactose. Like if you're lactose intolerant, like a lot of people are, but cheddar cheeses and hard cheeses like that, like Parmesans and stuff like that, the hard wheel cheeses.
Oh yeah, we do Parm too. Yeah. Okay.
They're lactose free.
No, I didn't know that.
So if you have
How can it be lactose free if it's
the way
cheese?
It's processed? Because you curds and whey and all this stuff and whatever. If you have issues with lactose through the processing of certain hard cheeses, that lactose is reduced or almost gone. So I have issues with lactose. I don't drink a lot of milk and I don't eat a lot of dairy products per se. But by having the cheddar cheeses and the hard cheeses, and the same with animals, like people feed the cheese to their dogs and cats all the time, mostly dogs. They're almost predominantly lactose intolerant.
I don't think our dogs get any of that kind of stuff.
A lot of people.
I think Mary Catherine's pretty well.
She makes her own dog food and stuff. You guys treat your animals pretty good.
Yeah. So yeah, we do. Way better than they should be.
A lot of people don't know that. So if you have a problem with lactose and you want to give it a whirl, try testing like a cheddar cheese or a hard cheese or a Parm cheese, and you might be able to tolerate it a lot better. So today's show is what if you can't cook?
Well, and that kind of goes right back to what you opened with about the lady buying the soup in her cart. Right. Maybe she's not a great cook. You don't know. What are you going to do?
When I first got diagnosed, and I still say it to my husband all the time, what do people do that don't know how to cook? Like if you go all your life eating out, processed foods, TV dinners, made pizzas, all of these things, and you can get processed stuff that isn't as bad. If you read the labels and look at your ingredients, you can get frozen foods, full meals and stuff like that, depending on the maker and the vendor, especially these days. So many different products are geared to be that, with the whole holistic movement, are more natural products. But the majority, by and large, is crap. Like when you look at a box and there's a list of ingredients that you need to sit down and make a cup of coffee to read through it, and you Google half of it to be able to pronounce it.
Yeah.
You probably shouldn't be eating it.
No.
But
Alex says he can't cook.
Yeah. So I'd say it all the time. Like, what do you do if you can't? And I tell my husband that. We ate out, but not because I couldn't cook, because it was just an enjoyable thing to do. So
well, I mean, when I first met my wife, I think I told you that before. When I very first met my wife, I grocery shopped at the 7-Eleven down the street where I was in Kansas City at the time. That's where I went and got my food. If it couldn't go in a microwave or just be pulled right out of the fridge and eaten, it wasn't chips, bread, and maybe some whatever. I mean, literally, I did not go anywhere other than that 7-Eleven to go buy food, because it was right there. I could walk down. And I was the only one. I mean, it was just me.
Right.
And
that's a lot of people.
And then she's like, let's go get some food. And I started going, she said, where are you going? I'm like, well, 7-Eleven. No. Let's go to a grocery store.
Right.
I had to actually call my mom and say, is there a grocery store somewhere here in Kansas City?
Right.
And we went, and I'm like, holy crap, look at all the food in this place. But I mean, because I didn't cook, but I mean, that was a long friggin' time ago. But yeah,
it's not easy. And that's the thing is, when I was talking to my husband about it, I'm like, I know how to cook. This isn't new to me. Like I knew how to cook before this happened. Anybody that knows me knows that food has been my thing forever. Unfortunately, my mother is not the greatest cook. She's just not. So I grew up on overcooked spaghetti, hot dogs, Doritos, bologna sandwiches. And I remember my dad made me a fried bologna sandwich, and I thought it was like the best thing on the face of the planet, because I was like, why hasn't mom been doing this the whole time? I get 16 pounds of mayo, American cheese, and a piece of bologna on squishy white bread.
But how you make a proper bologna. But the fried is
right. Oh. So my dad made me fried bologna sandwiches. But I remember the thing that had gotten me interested in cooking was, and my dad, honest to God, he's probably going to cry. His navy bean soup.
Really?
And it wasn't that it was something that was exceptional that I was like, holy crap, I love navy bean soup. It was more so the process, because he soaked the beans. There was no, store-bought crap about it. It was, and it just reminded me, thinking this is something that he grew up with. He did, and it, for some reason, it resonated with me.
Did he put the ham in as
the
well?
whole night? Yeah, everything. And I remember I didn't want to do that. Sorry, I'm multitasking and I'm very bad at it. But I remember being in our itty bitty little tiny kitchen, and it was the first time I remember thinking, like, there's a process and an art to this to make it good. There's a lot of steps in this, and there's a lot of, you soak the beans overnight, and you got to rinse the beans, and you got to sort the beans, make sure there's no stones in them, and then you cook it. And it wasn't an overly complicated recipe, but it was really the first time I remember seeing something actually like what I would portray as cooked in my kitchen. Shake and bake on chicken in an oven, or frying up a piece of bologna or an egg wasn't necessarily cooking. Like, this needed a bona fide recipe and a process to do. And that fascinated me, that you could go from a rock hard bean to something that tasted fantastic. So that, and his biscuits and gravy, the same thing, biscuits and gravy. You needed a process to make a good biscuits and gravy. Mm-hmm. And of course, he both made and ruined biscuits and gravy for me for the rest of my life. Because once you've had a good biscuits and gravy, I don't care how nice of a person you are, every single restaurant you ever go into for the rest of time.
Oh, yeah. You're very judgy about that.
Right. Like, you almost wish, can you just bring me a spoon of your gravy? Yeah. Just so I can taste that before I commit to ordering a plate of it. Because if it tastes like a flour block, I'm going to be I'm not mean enough to send it back. So I'm going to inhale it and probably puke later. but it's going to ruin my experience in your restaurant. So he both single-handedly made biscuits and gravy for me and ruined it for me for the rest of my life. But that being said, I also know how to make a kick-ass biscuits and gravy because of it.
Yeah. And that, yeah.
But
so, and he says, thanks, by the way.
When you don't know how to cook, I'm like, how do these people go from, I've been eating Subway and Taco Bell or whatever, or, even Subway and things like that, where you think like, I'm eating healthy. It's a sandwich or salads or whatever you're doing, Panera, it's soup and a sandwich and a salad and it's good for you. To you now have, cardiovascular disease, advanced heart failure, liver disease, kidney disease, you have thyroid cancer, whatever it may be. And you have to change your entire diet profile. And the easiest way to do that, and they always every doctor tells you this, is to start cooking your own food. Eat your own food. Don't eat out. Mm-hmm. Well, if you've never boiled water in your life, how do you like that works cooks in America show or whatever? And you're going, how are people like this? There are people, I've met them, and they send me questions about my recipes on a regular basis all the time.
I don't think when my brother got back from the Army, he and I moved in together. I don't think we even we had a toaster. And we had paper plates and those little red plastic cups and some plastic silverware. I don't think we even had we were piling things like we were putting books and stuff on the stove. Like, I don't think I don't even remember if it was a gas
stove. Like the oven was a place to store your pots and pans that you never used.
We didn't even have them. There were no pots. There were no pans. Literally, if it could not go in a microwave or just be pulled out of the cabinet and eaten, or the fridge and eaten, it didn't get bought. And because I remember my wife asking, how do you, I'm like, I don't know how you turn that thing on. We've never used it. So she's like, how have you never used your stove? Don't need it.
Right.
Got a microwave.
Right. And that's the thing, is like, when you look at it and go, something so simple. And I've always been the advocate of, there's no stupid questions. If nobody's ever taught you what 1 + 1 is, that's not a stupid question. You just don't know. No, if I taught you that and you keep asking me 17,000 questions, you then become stupid, not the question.
Because you just don't. I mean, because there are things I can now cook. I can make certain things. I've learned because there's a whole new world of food. Is the reason, like, you mentioned you had a bad food preparer there. My mom can't cook. Even to this day, she'll tell you she can't cook. She generally she's someone who will buy processed food, but that's what we grew up with. Sorry, Mom, but you know it. You said it. We grew up with horrible, horrible food.
Right.
And so when I discovered there was stuff that actually tasted good that came out of the microwave, all you had to do was open it, throw it in, and go zit and ding.
Right.
My world changed. I got fat.
That's usually what happens.
I grew up a skinny boy.
But
it was not because
processed food usually does that too. But that's what's fun. Like,
because I hated food. I didn't know food actually tasted good.
And that's it can be so, even for me as somebody who cooks and as somebody who knows techniques and taken classes and done catering in parties and events, and I used to decorate wedding cakes. Like, all my life, I've just loved food and I've loved to be immersed in it. But when, you watch any cooking show and the amount of salt they use, so I had to completely reteach myself. The techniques and the multitasking was there, but to come up with flavor components and compounds and things like that to bring in flavor that normally salt would enhance for you. So I get it. When people are saying, you suddenly have to cook when you never have, where do you begin? That's like riding a bike. As a child, you're taught the process. You're exposed to it. You're exposed to others that know how to ride a bike. You're given training wheels. You've gone through this process to be exposed and learn these things. So if you've never been exposed to cooking, if you're not from a cooking family, or if you've never been involved in it in your house, at an early age, now that as an adult, if you've never seen or touched a bike and someone says, I want you to balance on that and use your feet to push these pedals.
Oh, they'll look at you like you've lost your damn mind because you're balancing on a tire that's this wide.
Right.
And you got all of this.
Right.
You know, even as a kid, I remember being terrified of learning to ride a bike. And then suddenly, you know, one day I'm looking back and there's no one there holding it up. And I'm actually just going. I'm like, oh, I'm doing this.
And it's the same process with food is you need to start simple. You need to start. So there's a couple different things that I say. You don't take on all of it. It's the same with low sodium. You start with one thing. What do you like? Do you like tacos? Do you like pizza? Do you like whatever? You start simple, and you don't start with the 6-page recipe or, you know, whatever. If you're Italian and your grandmother's got a manicotti recipe that takes 3 days to make with homemade sauce and homemade noodle, you don't start there. You start somewhere simple and say, you know, okay, I like pizza or I like grilled cheese sandwich or whatever. Manicotti.
Well, my wife's, her dad's mother had made that and she learned how to make it. And oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah, I make that
stuff cooks all day long.
Yeah.
Man. It's like, oh.
It's fun for me because my husband has a tendency when I say, you know, let's make something different. What do you want for dinner tonight? And he'll come out with like, your manicotti? Let's make your manicotti. That was really my spinach and chicken stuffed manicotti is like a 3-day process. And that's what the other one he likes is the ropa vieja, which takes like 7 hours to cook.
And see, when you don't even know what foods are like, I never actually liked Italian food. Because of course I never had actual good Italian food. So it took a long time for me to develop a taste for it. But I remember when I first got together, I went to work one morning. She was all excited. She was like, you know, I'm going to make this where you're going to love it. It's going to be great. And I went to work and I'm talking about because I'm like, I don't even know what this is. And this was back before internet, folks. That long.
You can't just look it up.
You can just look it up back then. So I'm walking around. I'm like, I don't even know what it is. Somebody goes, what is she making? I'm like, mustard cannoli. They're like, what? Mustard cannoli? What the hell is that? Oh no, but that's what she's talking. Turns out I got it wrong. She was going to make mustacholi.
Yeah.
And you know, so I'm sitting here thinking I'm eating mustard cannoli.
That's funny.
I'm not a big fan. I mean, mustard's all right on a sandwich, but I don't even know. And I didn't even know what cannoli was. Now I do. And cannolis aren't that bad.
Right. Cannolis are fantastic.
But
that's funny.
Yeah. But
so that, I mean, one of the tips that I've given a lot of people who are starting out and trying to learn to cook. And like you say with, you know, you didn't even use your oven.
No, didn't even know how to turn it on.
So a good place to start is a counter grill, like a George Foreman grill or a Hamilton Beach. It's a little tiny, looks like a panini press, if you know what that is. But it's just a grill on both sides and closes down like a clamshell.
Yeah.
So
I think we have that.
It's, you know, I would say just if you have a grill, start with a grill. But grilling itself takes technique as well. But when you have one of these little tiny counter grills, it fits right on your counter. They're super healthy. And most of them come with a little tiny recipe book with a couple of basics: grill a chicken, grill a burger, grill a steak. So you can start with something simple. So you can buy a bag of vegetables. Again, I know it's a bag of peas or broccoli or whatever, and you think I don't have to pay attention to the label because it's a bag of peas. But I can guarantee you that 9 times out of 10, you look at the back of that steamer bag and it says there's salt in it. So you always got to pay attention to the label. But you can buy a bag or a can of vegetables and a piece of chicken, and you throw that chicken on that little George Foreman grill or whatever grill you purchase. I think there's a Hamilton Beach one at Home Depot. It's only like $50. So it's not a $300 grill investment or pots and pans or anything like that. And it's literally 4 or 6 minutes. You throw a piece of chicken and close the lid. And by the time you've put your vegetables into a bowl and microwaved them, you now have a perfectly good grilled chicken and vegetable dinner that you've made yourself. So it gives you a sense. It cooks
that quick? I thought chicken took a long time to cook.
Not when you have a grill on both sides. So if you're on a grill, you might have to cook it 6 minutes on one side because it's cold on top.
Yeah.
And then 6 minutes on another side and it's cold. Those little grills are a grill on both sides. So it's cooking it from both sides.
Right. Okay. Duh.
So you cut the cook time in half. So a lot of times it's not, and
it's like a waffle thing.
Right.
Yeah.
So people say, well, I have a whole family. Yeah, but chances are you're the one who's restricted and the rest of your family can eat whatever they want. So until you learn how to cook a meal that isn't going to kill everybody, you can start, and you can buy some of those grills that you can fit 4 or 5 pieces of chicken or steak on them. They don't have to be a little tiny independent one. So
yeah, because I think we have a waffle maker thing. I think we have something like that. I know we have just like the flat,
right? The
like
griddle,
the griddle where you make
right.
The
and you can use those too.
Yeah.
A lot of them have a flat surface, like the cast iron. I love my cast iron grill plate. A lot of them are flat on one side and they have the ridges on the other side. So you can do pancakes and stuff like that on one side, and you can do steaks and chicken and stuff like that on the other side. You really need to make sure that your indoor oven vent is installed properly and functioning if you're going to use an indoor griddle plate, because like a grill outside, they will smoke, they will flare up, and you need to make sure that you have proper ventilation, because if you get a grease fire in your kitchen and just the grease alone is going to smell horribly bad for a long time if you don't vent your kitchen properly. But we'll leave that for another home building show that I haven't started yet.
Yeah.
But
up next.
Right?
Yeah.
Home building with Marion Tips. Those little stove or countertop grills, though, are fantastic, because even grilled asparagus or zucchini or all of these things that you can put on, grilled fish, they're inherently very easy to use. You literally close the lid and push the button. So it's an introduction into being able to cook for yourself and then you can experiment with different seasonings. You can use lemon pepper or, the Dax blends that I had on.
Mm-hmm.
You can try all these different things, and it gives you that simple place to start without being overwhelmed. And the other one is crock pots and Instapots. Same thing. Those come with a little tiny booklet that says, this is how you use it. This is how you don't start a kitchen fire. And
you don't start a kitchen
fire. And here's our safety protocol. And by the way, here's 6 or 7 or 20 different recipes that you as long, again, you pay attention to your labels, and you go out and you buy a bunch of cans of stuff and throw it in a pot, and you have flavor. Worst case scenario, if you're low sodium and you make it yourself and you're like, this is pretty bland, and you put a couple sprinkles of salt on top when you're eating it, you're still getting way less sodium than if you seasoned it while cooking. Because when you sprinkle it on the top, you're going to use less. It's going to hit your tongue right off the bat, and it's going to give you that salted sensation immediately. So you're using less of it versus putting, a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons in something to season it while you're cooking. You use a lot more. So there's ways to start simple, without being super overwhelmed. And then you have this sense of accomplishment of you actually, even if it's just a piece of chicken and you've never cooked anything in your life. Like if you've ever actually watched those Worst Cooks in America show, when they finally create something that's edible,
they're probably overjoyed.
Right.
I've never seen it.
You have to, literally there's people who like, same as you were saying, like, I don't know how to turn the oven on. And now you want me to follow a 2-page recipe to make a thing? Like, how do I boil water? Like they turn the stove on and they've got the pot sitting there, and then they go to grab the pot and the pot's hot and they got to fill it with water, but then they fill a hot pot with water to boil the water, but then the pot steams because the pot's hot. And it's just this comedy of, if you've never multitasked in a kitchen, you can go, I can totally see why some people just burn the thing down by walking through it.
Yeah.
So, you have to start small, pick something small. And whether you're a chicken person, a fish person, or a vegetable person, those little countertop grills are fantastic. Another cheat, and I've talked about this before, is the rotisserie chicken at the grocery store.
Okay.
Most groceries have them. Even small mom and pop places have it, where you can buy a pre-cooked rotisserie bird. And surprise, it's funny. You'll spend $6 to $10, sometimes more, on 2 chicken breasts raw in the package to cook. You can buy
much?
Yeah, you can buy a whole rotisserie chicken at the grocery store. I think Jewel here locally, it's like $6. If you buy a whole bird
for a whole chicken,
right, if you buy a whole chicken, you can get them anywhere from $4, $5, or $6 for the whole 6-pound bird, which will feed your whole family. Of course, you got to learn how to cook it. So again, start simple. Don't don't go that route simply because you're looking to save money until you actually master turning your oven on.
I've smoked chickens and I've smoked turkeys and I've smoked. I'm on the smoker. I'm pretty good. My wife really is. I mean, she's even yesterday. She's like, "What do you want for dinner?" I don't know. And finally, I settled on your favorite grilled cheese, and there was some heart healthy chicken, whatever soup it was. I think it was chicken and rice soup. And I'm like, don't worry about it. I can cook it. She hasn't been feeling that great for a while, but she's like, no. She's like, well, you can cook it, or do you want it to taste good? I'm like, well, if you're up to it and you feel like it, I would much prefer it to taste good.
Right.
So she cooked, but I mean, I'm not a good cook. I can cook. I can make a few things. I'm still not. I mean.
Right.
People don't come to me and go, "Oh, Pete, would you please cook for me?"
Right.
They go, "Oh, you're cooking?" Well,
that's, and you don't think about it, but when why is 2 chicken breasts more than a whole bird? Because somebody else is skinning it, cutting it, deboning it, processing it, cleaning it up, and putting it in a package.
Yeah.
So, and Stephanie says that, you can get Sam's Club rotisserie chickens for $5. Now, their birds, a lot of the birds are brined. Or seasoned. So even if they start with an unbrined bird, like Jewel has plain ones and seasoned ones. And again, they're all $5 or $6. So the seasoned ones, so even if I go there and there's none of the plain ones, the seasoned ones are only like 135 milligrams of sodium per serving. So they're not that high because they start with unbrined birds.
Okay.
But what I discovered, so you can use that as a hack. So if you don't cook and you can't cook, you can still get something that's fresh made that day. And Jewel actually, after the day is done, because they don't just throw them away, they pick the meat off of all of those birds and put it in a little 1 pound tub. And I'll go and you can buy that after the fact. But you can use it for chicken salads, chicken sandwiches.
Is that a little more pricey then?
No.
No, really?
No, at the Jewel, it's the same price.
Steph says Sam's Club, Steph Connolly says Sam's Club, you can get the rotisserie chickens for $5. She also says that she burned her arm. How did you burn your arm in cooking?
Yeah, well, that's
you just stick your my arm's not done yet. Let me stick that in the oven.
Anybody who cooks, we get burns often. And if you look at a chef, and if they say they're a chef, and if they say they're an executive chef and they have no burns, that means they're an executive chef who oversees everybody. Okay. If they're an executive chef who's actually in the kitchen, they've got more wounds.
They're a watcher, not a doer. Okay.
But the rotisserie chicken, something that I discovered, and a lot of people, someone posted about this the other day with Sam's Club, speaking of Sam's Club and Costco, because you can buy the big platters of cookies and stuff. You can also just ask the bakery to give them to you uncooked. And it's way cheaper because they don't have to use their bakery to cook them and take the time. So you can take them and cook them later. So if you're having a big party or something and you don't want to,
so they'll just give you a big tray of uncooked cookies.
Right. And they're all split up. I mean, it's fantastic. But the same with rotisserie. I haven't asked Sam's Club if they'll do it. I know Jewel will. So if I asked them to do a roast for me once, because I saw a pork roast in their rotisserie tray thing, and they're under their heat lamps, and they'll pretty much roast anything I ask them to. So if I tell them, can you just grab a pork tenderloin or a beef roast, whatever,
they'll
roast it for me.
And then they do call you when it's done, or
right. It's like, because you can do catering through them. So they got a whole big, huge roaster, and they just put all of them on there, and it just goes. So what do they care if they add an unsalted bird? So if I wanted 3 or 4 unsalted birds or a roast or something, if you just ask, chances are they'll just
slap it in there.
You're buying the product from them. They're making the money. It doesn't matter if they put 1 or 2 or 6 or whatever. So I found that they do that. And whenever I make like one pot meals, so creamy chicken noodles, something or other thingy. If I don't feel like making the chicken myself, it's $6. It's the same stinking price as if I bought it and roasted it myself
and did all the work.
If I just grab the tub, chop it, and throw it in my pot. So you don't have to be a gourmet cook or have to use processed foods to be able to use those kind of cheats. So it's more often than not, people are psyching themselves out of doing it. It's too complicated. I don't know where to begin. I'm not going to bother. And the next thing you know, they just order takeout.
I mean, even I completely can relate, because sometimes I'll even, usually I'll make something for breakfast for myself, or again, sometimes my wife will be like, well, what are you having? If she didn't make something, she's like, what do you have? I don't know. And she said, well, is it because you don't know, or just because you don't want to make the effort? For me, most of the time, it's because I don't want to make the effort. And if it's not something I can just grab, still, all these almost 30 years later, I'm a lazy eater. I really am. And sometimes I just don't even feel like opening a can sometimes. I just want the food to go from there to there and there, and then I'm done.
And there's a lot of people like that. And I don't deny that. I love food. And I know that everybody's not going to be me. Everybody's not going to, the kitchen is not going to be their happy place. I genuinely, and to this day, I think my husband looks at me like I'm nuts, because I'll get home and work, a 12-hour day and come home and spend 3 hours in my kitchen making something. And he's like, just do something simple, get this, get that, or whatever. And you don't have to feed me. I'm not doing this for you. This is like my downtime.
Because on top of everything else, including this show, a lot of people know you still have a full-time job.
I do. I run a store that, so I work my 60, 70 hours every week.
It's just nuts.
I do love my store, though.
Yeah, you do.
I do love my store. I love my crew. I love my store. So I if I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I learned,
which is cool,
after my liver disease, was you do have an epiphany. You do, when the doctors say, that your organs are failing, and the survival rate of 1 year after for somebody with the level of advanced cirrhosis that I had presenting with ascites is a 50% survival. And I mean, you can do the glass half empty, half full all you want, but when someone tells you have a 50% survival and you're not even 40 years old yet, it's a serious gut punch.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you do have kind of an aha moment, and you realize the importance of things. So I cut a lot of toxic out of my life, but so I can understand. I can understand when people get overwhelmed about cooking, especially, someone like you, who it's not your thing. That's not your jam. You're not one to sit. Now, you'll do it to make your wife happy.
Oh, yeah.
So if there's a means behind it, then, and that's what I tell people is find your means. So you don't have to enjoy cooking or have to enjoy working out. But if you are genuinely passionate about making yourself better and living a longer life, then that's your means. So you don't have to make gourmet meals. But if you tell yourself, okay, this is what it is, I'm going to throw a piece of chicken on a grill in 2 seconds, and I found a low sodium hot sauce, and now suddenly you have something you like and will eat. And it takes 6 minutes. It's like by the time you turn around and pour a cup of coffee, your chicken's done and you can inhale it and be done and on your way. And then go, okay, it's not that bad. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's easier than I thought it was going to be. It only took me a few minutes. I'm done and out. I can do this. I don't like it, but I can do it. If it means saving my life or getting better or not needing a liver transplant, I can do this. And it shifts your perspective. So now here's something funny. In prep for this show, like always, I did some research. So I Googled recipes for people who don't know how to cook. And I like gut laughed. I legitimately gut laughed. Because the amount of questions that come in from people about my recipes. So if you don't know how to cook, and the example I always bring up is peanut butter. Mm-hmm. Me, you, and everybody else, peanut butter. Yeah. Like, what would you put peanut butter on? I don't
Bread,
know.
jelly,
toast, an apple. Common answers. And if you go to Australia and ask people what you'd put peanut butter on, they're gonna, what's peanut butter? You put it on apples. Got Marmite. Why would you put it on apples? They have Vegemite.
Yeah, Vegemite, Marmite, Vegemite. Yeah.
But legitimate. So what you think might be common sense, and again, that goes back to there's no stupid questions. Because if you don't know how to cook, so you look at the first recipe that I saw, literally was explained was, simple chicken, easy for first time cooks. And the first step was, here's the ingredients and marinate the chicken overnight.
The frick is marinate?
So, well, not only that.
Well, I mean, I know what it is, but yeah, if you don't know how to cook.
But here's the bigger question is, if you decide right now is the moment, you're going to get your lazy ass up off the couch and I'm going to go cook. I'm going to go do it. You know what? Right now, I psyched myself. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get up. I'm going to do this. I can do this. And whatever got you up off that couch, if you stub your toe through the living room on your way to the kitchen, you're going to say, screw this. I'm going to go back, sit down. So when you open up and say, this is the recipe I picked, what do you mean? I got to let the chicken sit in my fridge overnight?
Yeah, I'm done.
All right. This is
Chef Boy RD to the rescue.
All right. I'm going out. Dial in some takeout, whatever, DoorDash, whatever. And that's what cracked me up. Like, you can't tell me that a recipe is easy when you have a marination process that takes 24 hours. You're just not, automatically step one, you just lost them. And then, like you said, what is marinate? Now you go to bring to boil, reduce to simmer. Okay, you know what bring something to boil is?
Yeah.
But recently I shared on my LinkedIn account, this guy did a video. He asked his kids to give him handwritten instructions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And I just got laughed because people, you would think like the kids, and the kids are yelling, like, that's not what I meant. Put the knife in the jar of peanut butter and spread it on your bread. So you and me who made peanut butter jelly sandwiches, common sense says you actually put the knife in, scoop some peanut butter, pull it out of the jar, and then hold your piece of bread. So he literally shoves the thing in the knife in the jar, and he's holding this thing of peanut butter upside down, grabs a piece of bread, and he just starts smearing the tub because he took it.
The instruction.
He took it very literally.
It's an engineer for you,
right? It was the whole. If somebody doesn't know the process,
if someone doesn't understand, how do you?
Do you know what simmer is? Do you know?
Well, I mean, I do, right. but if you don't,
and even if you've never done it, so you're sitting there going, okay, so it's not boiling, so is that a simmer? Like, there's a lot of bubbles, so is that a simmer, or is it still boiling, or do I need to have like no bubbles? Is no bubbles simmering? And if you've never actually done the process of cooking, you're gonna go, I have no idea. And then and it's so easy to get overwhelmed when you don't have a coach there with you. You don't have a teacher, you don't have a mentor, you don't have someone cheering you on. So it makes perfect sense to me why so many people get so discouraged about cooking because of that nature. When you look at recipes, creaming things together. What the hell is creaming?
Yeah, well,
right.
It does not sound that, and that actually doesn't even sound, unless you're putting like heavy whipped cream over peaches or something. That doesn't even sound appetizing unless you're talking about like I like cream corn.
See, and the creaming process is something that you personally probably absolutely love because it's what I needed to make the frosting on the cupcakes I brought you guys. It's what I needed to make my coffee cake. So anytime you have baked goods, you are most likely creaming butter and sugar together.
And in which case, I'm probably going to be a happy fellow with the end result. Steph actually says that her mom and brother will cook a month's worth of food over a weekend, then portion it out and put it in the freezer.
I do that.
And I remember you talking about that before.
Yeah, I do that. And I don't do it as much anymore just because of the meals that my husband and I like to eat. But there are certain things that a lot of times are a staple in our fridge. There's usually a soup of some kind. Like right now, there's still some turkey soup. Usually a bolognese or a meat sauce, pasta sauce of some kind. And then he's demolished all of them. We had stuffed peppers for quite some time just because it's an easy thing for him to, when I'm not home, if I'm working and he wants dinner, he can just throw it in and it's a couple minutes in the microwave. But so when you're cooking is a multitasking thing, and people will say I'm good at multitasking, but when you have fire on your stove and you got to cut things up and things are burning. And then the next thing you know, your smoke alarm goes off, or you like me, decide to take a shower real quick while the turkey's in the oven and your sister lights your oven on fire. That's always fun.
And that's not the first time you've brought that up on the show. So that's obviously a sticking point for you.
No, it was my brand new Fisher Paykel double oven in our brand new house, first Thanksgiving, and all of a sudden, I have my sister screaming that we got it out. What do you got? Well, you got what out? It was just a little fire.
just a little bit.
That's fantastic.
Just a little bit of fire.
That's fantastic.
We're coming up on just about the 10-minute mark. So I can go get a spoon if you want.
Yes, I'm going to talk about a couple while he's getting some stuff. So, something that is easy when you learn how to cook. And Jim Anderson says you can Google or YouTube the world, which is true. But when you don't have the experience on how to do things, there's something to be said for firsthand, experiences. But when I go back to the start with something simple. So a couple things that I say are a good starting point to learn how to cook. One of them is a dip. If you start with a dip, chip dips, spinach dips, things like that, because they're relatively easy to follow the instructions, and usually other than heating it up at the end, you don't have to always cook a whole lot of things to make it. And then you can share it with people. And there's something to be said for being able to share stuff with others that gives you a sense of gratification, because that's one thing that I love about food is sharing the food. And when I get to share my food, it gives me, I don't know, it's like sharing a piece of me. It's something that I created that people enjoy. So it's absolutely fantastic. Another one is frying an egg. And the reason why I say frying an egg is because of technique. So when you learn the different, the first time you fry an egg, and if it's crappy, because your pan's not hot enough, and you learn that technique of how hot is too hot, when your oil smokes and all that other kind of stuff. So,
I'm going to make it back to my seat here, but this is, no one can hear me.
Oh, no, I can see.
But,
that's green.
That's very green.
It's green. Yeah. I'm not asking you to take a whole lot. You just need a little tiny lick. Just a little tiny lick.
I got a spoon.
But yes, frying an egg or scrambled eggs. And there's even a technique, speaking of YouTube, you can look up Gordon Ramsay's perfect scrambled eggs, which my husband, who also is not a cook, has learned how to make. Now be careful opening that, because those stick really tight. And
I got a paper towel here.
So Gordon Ramsay has a technique for making scrambled eggs that's absolutely fantastic. That being said, it's a technique. So it's something simple. It's something inexpensive, because if you ruin it, big deal. You threw away an egg. You know what I mean? You didn't waste 16 different ingredients. You wasted one egg. It's not that big of a deal. The other one is my absolute personal favorite that you just mentioned, is a grilled cheese sandwich.
Ooh.
So cook a grilled cheese sandwich.
This is very banana-y.
Oh, is it?
Oh,
well, one little lick. One little tiny lick. And you'll be surprised how strawberry it is. And you don't even have to take a spoonful. Just dip the back of a spoon in it just so you can actually taste it.
Look at that thick.
It's a smoothie. So grilled cheese sandwich. We still got 7 minutes. Grilled cheese sandwich.
It may take all of those to get this done. Okay, just suck it up and do it.
Yeah, just suck it up and do it. It's not a big. It's more strawberry than anything. It really is more strawberry than anything. And I don't care what anybody says, and I don't care if you puke it up, because at least you tried it. And that's all I ever ask. Like when people talk about their kids.
Kent, we got a special something for you here.
Kent will probably love it.
He probably drink this whole tub.
Yeah, it's really good. Now, keep in mind, people, this is not indicative of what's my recipe cooking. This is indicative of the fact that Pete hates spinach and he hates bananas.
I do. I really do.
This is banana spinach strawberry smoothie.
Oh my God.
But like a 3-year-old, I got him to taste it. Drink your coffee.
Yeah. Oh.
So grilled cheese sandwich. Last week, you guys were talking on the loaf about grilled cheese, and someone said mayonnaise. And I had commented about mayonnaise. The perfect grilled cheese sandwich is if you put the absolute lightest coating on the outside of the bread. So instead of frying it in butter, because for years I made the soggiest grilled cheese sandwich ever. And I can cook lasagna. I've won contests with my chili, and I can't make a flipping grilled cheese sandwich because the butter would soak into the bread. Hey, Terry. And it would make the soggiest grilled cheese sandwich. So I discovered putting a little bit of mayonnaise on it, and it cooks super fast. So on a medium heat, I could put a grilled cheese sandwich with that slight mayonnaise and cover it with a lid real quick so the lid helps steam the cheese melty. And it takes like a minute or two on each side. And you always wonder how restaurants get so quick with a perfect grilled cheese sandwich, and that is how. Most of them use mayonnaise because it's just eggs and fat. So that fat content in the mayonnaise is what acts like the butter and creates that perfect golden brown. Now, it will burn quickly, but again, it goes to technique. It teaches you patience, and it's something that's fantastic. So if you can master making something as simple as a grilled cheese sandwich, you just taught yourself cooking at a very simple level that gives you a sense of accomplishment, and it changes your perspective in your relationship with food. And that's what usually it's about. Is having a bad relationship with food, of not being able to cook or not being exposed to foods or try new things. Because you never know. Or pizza. Pizza is a great one because in its simplest form, you can buy a pre-made dough. So if you buy a pre-made dough, you put your stuff on it, and you buy all this stuff, and you pay attention to the ingredients, you can still make your own pizza and feel like you did something. And then once you're starting to feel ambitious, if you want to try making a dough, pizza is the best way to get introduced, in my opinion, into the bread and dough making world, because it's a very simple dough. And if you screw it up, you either have an extra crispy or an extra doughy focaccia-y type of pizza. But I mean, come on, everybody pretty much says even bad pizza is still good pizza.
Well,
for the most part, not always.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not a big pizza fan, actually. My wife taught me how to make some, and she makes an awesome pizza. But like, even I actually picked up a pizza when we were out the other day, like it's just a pepperoni throw. I think it was like one of the, I don't know, the Red Baron guy or somebody. I don't know who it was, and threw it in, and it turned out kind of not good. And the dogs got what was left over after I ate a couple slices because it was just not good.
Right. Ooh. And well, the other one is tacos. So tacos doesn't sound like a complicated thing to make, but there's a lot of ingredients. So it doesn't inherently seem like it's hard, but to make, you're really only cooking the taco meat, whether it's beef or chicken or whatever, you're really only cooking the taco meat, but it's multitasking. And that's what cooking's about. So if you're making tacos, and if you screw up, you can leave the heat or leave the meat sitting on the side, either on the heat or off the heat, while you dice tomatoes and onions and lettuce and all this other stuff. So there's a lot of components to it. So it gives you that exposure of having a lot of different pieces to one meal, and prospectively feeling like it's a big thing when all you really did was brown up some meat and throw some seasonings on it. So it's not an overly complicated cooking dish.
True. Yeah.
But you still have, like, if you like a good taco, you've got, even though it's just guacamole, when you make the effort to say, okay, I'm going to take the guacamole out of the tub and put it on a bowl, and I'm going to dice up onions, and I'm going to, cut lettuce, and all of these things, you have a lot of components to one dish.
You do.
And even if all you're doing is putting it into a bowl and putting it on the table,
and see, I'm
you feel like you've made a meal.
I'm a little bit more of a burrito person, but it's the same thing.
Right.
And all you're doing is, but I also, instead of the guac, I go sour cream.
Right.
But it's not.
But it's usually a lot of components.
It's a lot of components, but it's not difficult.
Right. Like a salad.
You
throw a bunch of stuff in a bowl, but it's a lot of components. And that's the other, like salads. If you make a steak salad, all you're doing is cooking a steak.
Yeah.
Or a piece of chicken. But again, it's a lot of components. So when you feel like you've done something, so when you make a salad that's got, lettuce and spinach and arugula and tomatoes and cheese and croutons and whatever. So it's got a lot of components. And then it's also got a piece of sliced chicken on it.
Yeah.
You feel like you've done something. And that sense of accomplishment, again, it changes your perspective and it changes your relationship with food. So, and that's usually the reason why people hate cooking or steer away from it, is because of their perspective and their relationship with food.
And we got about 30 seconds. So tell everybody where they can find you.
They can find me on My Low Soul Lifestyle on my Facebook page, 216 The Net. Download the app, listen to us anytime. You can find us both on YouTube as well. And my website is slowly in the works. I had a couple hiccups today, but soon that will be out. So as soon as it is, you'll be able to find my recipes a whole lot easier.
All right.
Cool beans. Thank you, everybody. But yeah, so I posted some of the recipes, and I'll post some more. I know my pizza recipe's out there. My pizza sauce, that's a popular one. But it's always a relationship with food with people.
Yeah, always. So.
Oh, Jim with his inside-out grilled cheese skirt. Those are fantastic. I don't know if you've ever had a cheese skirt.
I have never had a cheese skirt.
So you ever have like a pizza or grilled cheese or something, and the cheese overfloweth, and you get like a crusty bit of hard cheese?
Okay. Yeah. All right.
When you do it on purpose, it's called a cheese skirt.